Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just remind you of Council's governance rules before the meeting starts. And this is about making council meetings a safe place for everyone. So welcome everybody. During the council meeting, members of the public cannot address the meeting outside of public question time, must not interject or act offensively, must remain seated, must switch your mobile phones to mute, must not operate any recording device, audio or visual, without obtaining the consent from the Chief Executive Officer, which is me, at least 3 days prior to the council meeting, and can display placards or posters, provided they're not offensive, do not obstruct entrances and exits to the chamber or impede any view or person. The Chair, who is the Mayor, can direct any member of the public to stop interjecting or acting offensively. If that behaviour continues, the Chair can then ask an authorised officer or a member of Victoria Police to remove members of the public from the chamber. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Council meeting Monday, 26th of February 2024. Item 1.2, attendance, please, Ms Weatherall.
Thank you, Mayor, and I have had no apologies this evening.
Thank you. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of the land. Those in the chamber may stand for this item. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay respect to their elders past and present. We recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country and waters, and we also pay our respect and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their elders present here today in acknowledging their journey. Item 1.4, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment in recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer, reflection or affirmation this evening will be offered by Abdurrahman Sahin, Imam from the Keysborough Turkish Islamic and Cultural Centre. If we could all please stand.
Of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all worlds. O Allah, guide us in our deliberations today and grant us wisdom as we make decisions that affect our community. Help us to work together in harmony and with sincerity for the betterment of all. Protect us from discord and guide us towards justice and righteousness. Grant us strength and patience to fulfill our responsibilities with integrity and compassion. Amen.
Thank you so much. Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Could I get a mover, please?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Seconder? Sorry, I think Councillor Tan, were you in for seconder? Yep, thanks. I'm just checking that you were here for the previous meetings. Yep, all good, thank you. Any questions? Any opposition? The item is carried. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest, please, Ms Weatherall.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a disclosure of conflict of interest this evening from Councillor Jim Mehmeti, and it concerns item 4.1.3, appointment of a non-executive director for Dandenong Market Proprietary Limited. He's declaring an interest as he is a director of a company that has a stall at the Dandenong Market. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Weatherall. Item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1. 2.1, Documents for Sealing. 2.1.1, Documents for Sealing. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Dark, thank you. And seconder, Deputy Mayor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 2.2, Petitions and Joint Letters. 2.2.1, Petition and Joint Letters. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Long. Seconder? Councillor Trong. Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 2.3, Statutory Planning Applications. 2.3.1, Planning Decisions issued by Planning Ministers Delegate January 2024. Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. You really want us to finish as quickly as possible? Any questions? Yeah, Councillor Dark was the seconder. Any questions? Any opposition? Item is carried. Item 2.3.2, Planning Delegated Decisions issued January 2024. Mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Mamedi. Thank you, Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 3, Public Question Time. Ms Weatherall, please. I believe we have quite a few.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have quite a few this evening. The first question we have this evening is from Elizabeth Grasso of Keysborough. If she would like to come up to the microphone, please, and ask her question on climate change.
When the current CEO of Greater Dandenong, Jackie Weatherall, was CEO of Stonington Council, the budget of Stonington City Council had 3 foundations. One of these was embedding our responsibility to act on climate change in every area of our operations. Will the upcoming budget of Greater Dandenong Council have as one of its foundations the same commitment to action on climate change? And if not, why not? After all, the City of Greater Dandenong being the most disadvantaged municipality, the impact of climate change is going to be much worse on Greater Dandenong residents than on Stonington residents.
Thank you, Ms Grasso. I will ask our Executive Director of Corporate Development, Mr Foley, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Ms Grasso. Council budgets are informed by the objectives of the current Council 5-year plan, which is prepared in consultation with the community and can be downloaded from the website if you're looking for what the objectives are. Preparations are now underway to deliver the next Council plan, and it's likely the impact of climate change and many other challenges that are confronting the City of Dandenong will be a consideration of this new plan and for the future Council.
Thank you, Mr Foley.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question is from Jacob Dudman Doyle, and his question concerns events in Greater Dandenong. So, Jacob, would you like to come up to the microphone, and you might need to adjust it slightly. We can give you a hand with that. Thank you, Jacob.
Jacob, welcome. Good to see you again. Future councillor, I think.
Hello, as you know, I'm Jacob. Sorry I'm not been here for a while, but I do watch online. I'm a resident of City of Greater Dandenong. My question tonight concerns our events. We have events including Little Day Out, Australia Day, etc. Could we please have more jumping castles and rides? I'm not saying it for myself, I'm saying it for the majority of kids that come. Last year, let's say, when we had the Little Day Out at Ross Reserve, we had 2 rides, the lines were jam-packed. I was arrived early and the line was so long. So I think we need more rides to attend these wonderful events. Thanks.
Good question, Jacob, and I concur. If we could ask Ms Gillies to respond, please. I was very frustrated about the queue, actually, and I missed out completely.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Jacob, thank you so much for your question and for being here tonight. It is great to see you, but also good to know that you follow along online. Yeah. Absolutely. We look at every one of our events and we take all of the feedback that we receive at each one of our events, and often the feedback is more rides, more of the good stuff, and also making sure that it's affordable for our community to access. So I can absolutely assure you that we will continue to look at that. I would also encourage you, we'll be starting the consultation soon for our council plan, and it's really important that we get voices and ideas from yourself and your friends to participate in that process, so that our next council plan, which will help make decisions or help lead us for the next 5 years, really takes into account what's important to you and to other young people in our municipality. So thank you for being here, and absolutely bring on the fun. I agree, and we absolutely will look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. Good on you. Hope to see you at future council meetings.
Thank you, Mayor. And our next question is from Isabella Doe of Springvale, and if she would like to come forward, is she here? She would like to come forward. She has a question on climate change.
She's here very often. Hi, Bella. Hi, Alana.
Just after the last council meeting, the City of Greater Dandenong received over 850 reports and requests for assistance during a huge storm event, clearly highlighting the very physical and real effects of climate change. At the time, the new Executive Director, City Future, stated that we had leading local government strategies, several which have won industry awards, and had implemented various actions over recent times. As a reminder, the City of Greater Dandenong admitted in their meeting report last year, on the 27th of February, that they were well behind other councils in staffing climate change and sustainability due to lack of funding for staffing and for the projects themselves, meaning they could only achieve 14% of the agreed actions in their climate change and sustainability strategies and plans. Previously, I asked whether the upcoming budget would address this inadequate staffing and funding issue. The answer didn't, in good faith, address the resourcing question. Instead, it listed an assortment of random achievements, including the creation of plans that haven't been resourced yet. Can you please clarify whether climate change and environmental staffing and project budgets will be increased this year to compensate for the lack of progress we made last year, plus adequately meet any strategies and actions that will be laid out in future plans? If there's no plan to increase the budget, can you explain why, in particular, how it's reconciled with Council's agreement we're in a climate emergency, the increasing extreme weather events, and Council's commitment to help the disadvantaged and vulnerable in our community?
Thanks, Bella. I'll ask Mr. Manivasagasim to respond, please.
Thank you for your question. Yes, as you know, Council provides more than 100 different services to the Greater Dandenong community, including disadvantaged and vulnerable community members. Council will consider, as Director Foley mentioned, that we are in the process of preparing budgets. So part of that is Council will consider all additional requests for resources as part of the upcoming annual budget process. However, a decision on what, if any, additional resources will be provided can only be confirmed at the end of the budget process.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bella.
Thank you. And our next question is from Sylvia Mastrogiovanni of Dandenong, and it concerns Dandenong Community Hub.
Gosh, hello everybody. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks very much. My first question tonight is, as you know, about the Dandenong Community Hub. The Dandenong Community Hub co-design sessions have been making progress, but there is significantly further to go because of unanswered questions to date. A co-design session is a collaborative and creative design session. It brings a small group of users into the design process, co-developing design solutions. A co-design process is an iterative process often taking approximately 4 workshops to collaboratively settle on a design. For this reason, there needs to be further co-design workshops. When will they be held?
Thank you for that, Sylvia. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Hi, Sylvia. Lovely to see you. Thank you for your question. And also, I know there's a number of people here tonight that have participated so far in the co-design process. So thank you all for your time in that. I absolutely understand that there has been a request for some additional co-design sessions. The last of the current round of sessions obviously finished on Thursday night just gone. So what we're doing is we're collating all of the feedback that we received as part of the process so far. We're also waiting on the report now from the architect that brings together all of the feedback that's been received so far. Once we've received that, we absolutely will. The question is, do the architects have the information that's required for them to actually consider the co-design complete? So what are the outstanding questions? Once we have that information, we'll certainly look at the need for further co-design sessions, and we'll inform all of those that have participated so far directly and on our website about that. The key part is that we just need to keep reminding ourselves that this is a concept design stage only. It's not detailed design. So there certainly will be some things that don't get locked in and confirmed as part of a concept design process. They will be further teased out as part of the detailed design process. That said, we'll confirm any additional sessions when we've heard back from the architect, and we certainly have heard the feedback that some of the members of the group have requested additional sessions. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ms Gillies. Second question, Sylvia?
Second question. What is the parking requirement for the Dandenong Community Hub, and how is it calculated? So far, participants in the Dandenong Community Hub co-design have not had clear answers and, most importantly, transparent rationale on how the parking requirement has been calculated. There seems to have been no factoring in that the old library car park is no longer servicing a library that has been already demolished, that there are bus services servicing the site, that kindergarten and childcare users will not be staying but only dropping off and picking up, and will do so at different times, and that the Dandenong market is only opened a limited time each week, and particularly not on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays and weeknights. When and how will this information be made available, particularly to participants in the co-design process?
Thanks, Sylvia. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond again, please.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks again, Sylvia. Sorry, I feel like I'm a bit tall today. I do understand that car park numbers have actually been discussed in the co-design forums, and it has been explained that there's not a black and white cut and dry number. Essentially what needs to occur is some assessment of all of the factors that you've just mentioned, and that then needs to be weighed up against the Victorian planning provisions. So there are actually Victorian planning guidelines around the number of car parks that will be required. We need to get further information before that can be determined. Council's parking engineers regularly monitor a number of the areas you just mentioned there, but also the Stewart Street East public car park, which will definitely be displaced by the community hub, as well as the Dandenong market in general, taking into account what you've just mentioned there about utilisation of that car park, as well as surrounding areas. This data, which has to be collected over time, will then be used to help council determine the absolute requirement in terms of car parking, again noting it may change over time and the current process is concept only. So we'll collect all of that data. The Dandenong Community Hub will likely require a planning permit, and the application will be considered by the State Government Planning Minister, not by Council. It's not our decision-making process. The parking requirement within the Victorian planning provision, I've got the clause numbers, happy to share, must be considered as part of the planning permit application, and the provision of less parking than is required by the provisions would require a reduction to be justified by a qualified expert. So essentially, we would need to apply for an exemption to the requirement, and that would require ministerial approval for us to go below what the assessed number of car parks is.
I know it's the concept design, but if we don't get those numbers right now, then the detailed design will be not informed properly. So, and do we get to see how this is actually done? Do we get to see the figures?
So I might actually lean on Sanjay in a moment for this one. In terms of the difference between the concept and the detailed design, and I can use actually a recent process we've been through in relation to another development that we're looking at. It's very much around developing the principles that the detailed design will be based on.
Yes.
So in principle, obviously we need to comply with Victorian planning requirements. If for some reason we believe we should be exempt, we would then need to submit an exemption. At this stage in the process, we can't submit an exemption because we actually don't know what the requirements are.
But
so we couldn't provide that.
We'd like to know, like, we need this requirements from the state government. Well, can we see what they
Sylvia, sorry, could I just remind you, you're now going into a fourth question.
Oh.
This isn't going into a, back and forth thing. So,
Oh, I thought you could ask questions for
if
clarification.
it's clarification, but this is a completely different question.
Oh,
so
I was trying to clarify why we couldn't see the figures.
No, I think Ms Gillies answered the question that you originally asked. So if you want to move on to the final question, please, and if there's any further questions that you have, happy for you to email them through to her.
Okay, we'll
Thank
do
you.
that then.
Thanks.
Okay, third question. I have become aware that there is a revised market precinct plan being developed, updating the precinct plan from 2007. This will change the pedestrian flow, traffic flow and space available for the Dandenong Community Hub and associated playground, including the future of Stewart Street. It has been an issue that in the 2 Dandenong Community Hub co-design sessions held so far, participants in the Dandenong Community Hub co-design process have not seen this precinct plan. When and how will this revised precinct plan be made publicly available, particularly to the participants in the co-design process?
Thanks, Sylvia. I'll ask our Executive Director, City Futures, Mr Mani Vasagasim, to respond, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So as part of the next year's budget process, we have submitted a budget for to undertake a market precinct plan review next financial year. So once the bid is approved, consultation with the community will be undertaken to inform the review. The Dandenong Market Community Hub project will be key input into this review. So the review would happen next financial year. So as part of that, we'll do the community consultation.
Thanks, Sylvia. Thanks. Good to see you. Any further follow-up questions, just email them through, please. Thanks, Sylvia.
Thank you, Matt. And our next question is from Eshwari Kushwa, and it concerns lease arrangements. Is Eshwari here? No? I'll read out the question. There is a fenced-off area just south of the Dandenong Community and Learning Centre on Sleath Avenue, Dandenong. Who is using that? I have heard it was leased to the DCLC around 10 years ago to extend their community garden. If true, how long is the lease? It does not seem to be being used. Can I ask Mr Foley to respond, please?
Thanks, Mr Foley.
Thank you, Mayor. First, thanks for your question. The fenced-off area referred to behind the Dandenong Community and Learning Centre is council land, but it's not under any lease or licensing agreement. Council did receive a request for use of this space some time ago, but this was declined. In 2019, Council installed a fence around this space due to some security issues at a neighbouring property, but we understand that neighbouring property has now been demolished and the appropriate department will be contacted to review whether this fencing can now be removed to reinstate the land as public open space.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And our next question is from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park, and it concerns Jim Hardy Park in Dandenong. The western section of Jim Hardy Park at the corner of Foster Street East and Macpherson Street, Dandenong, has had several trees cut down and extensive vegetation cleared. Was this done by council contractors, and if so, why? Can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasafam to respond, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Council officers have inspected the vegetation within the Jim Hardy Park. The vegetation removal was not undertaken by the council. The matter has been referred to the council local law teams to investigate.
Thank you. And our next question is from Mr Kerwin of Noble Park concerning street trees in Dandenong. A number of street trees planted in Foster Street East Dandenong are not typical council species. Have they been planted by residents, and if so, what happened to the previous council species there? Can I again ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam to respond, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Council officers have inspected the street trees within the Foster Street East. The street tree planting was not undertaken by the council. This matter has been referred to the council's local law team for investigation.
Thank you so much.
And our last question from Mr Kerwin tonight is about Railway Parade in Noble Park. When is the construction of the traffic calming measures in Railway Parade Noble Park going to start? Can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam again, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Council is currently in procurement stage to nominate a suitably qualified contractor for the construction for this project. And as you know, these treatments are funded through Federal Black Spot Program. Officers are expecting construction on site to commence in April this year.
Thank you. And our next question is from King Handley of Warrigal, and it concerns single-use plastics. Dandenong Market still provides single-use plastic bags in the fruit and vegetable section. With Greater Dandenong's commitment to reducing the use of plastic, can Council please give a date on when the Dandenong Market will stop using single-use plastic bags? Can I ask Mr Foley to respond, please?
Thanks, Jackie. First, thanks for your question, Mr Handley. Dandenong Market's managed by DMPL and currently meets its requirements for the state legislation on single-use plastics. Excuse me. I spoke with DMPL this afternoon and they have indicated a willingness to explore other initiatives that could reduce this use of single-use plastics.
Thank you, Mr Foley.
Thanks, Mr Foley. We now have a question from Blake Miller of Dandenong concerning consumer law responsibilities. I've noticed some business owners in the local government area do not follow their consumer law responsibilities and would like to know what Council does, if anything, about teaching local business owners the importance of following consumer law obligations when operating their business in the City of Greater Dandenong. Can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam to respond, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Australian consumer law is a national legislation designed to safeguard of the interest of consumers. The administration of and enforcement of this law falls under the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, which is an ACCC, in collaboration with state and territory consumer protection agencies. As such, the responsibility for educating and enforcing compliance with the consumer law obligations primarily rests with these entities rather than local government.
Thank you. Our next question is our second one from Mr Miller of Dandenong, concerns car usage by councillors. How many councillors decided to drive to this council meeting tonight? And if you did, why did you decide not to use public transport instead? And I'll be responding to that as Chief Executive. I can't respond on behalf of individual councillors. I would suggest, Mr Miller, that you email them directly asking the questions. All councillor email addresses are located on Council's website. Our next question is from Gay Guest of Keysborough and concerns Heritage Study update. Will Council include an allocation of its new budget to update City Greater Dandenong's Heritage Study, which is now 25 years old, to include every heritage significant building, infrastructure and trees within our municipality. Time is of the essence on this matter. Our heritage needs to be prioritised without delay, as this question has been asked for the last several years. Can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam to respond, please?
Thank you for your question. Through you, Mayor, Council officers have commenced a review of the 69 sites currently listed on the heritage overlay within the Greater Dandenong Planning Scheme to confirm if any changes need to be made to the heritage controls for these sites. A planning scheme amendment is likely to follow this to make any identified changes to the heritage overlay for these sites. Once this has been completed, Council will consider any potential further heritage actions or projects.
Thank you. Our second question from Ms Gay Guest today concerns the Hammond Road Archive Facility. Will money be set aside to renovate Council's Hammond Road Archive Facility so all municipal artefacts can be stored in the one facility in the upcoming budget? Currently, there are historical objects still stored at Morwell Parade, Springvale, a site that was only meant to be temporary, pending the extension of the Hammond Archive. This storage shed is not light and temperature controlled, which does not protect the items stored in it. Recently, the Morwell Parade site, which is on the banks of the Mile Creek, flooded. It's not an ideal site for our treasured archives, which serve to be stored correctly for perpetuity. Can I please ask Ms Gillies to respond, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Gay, for your question and also for your commitment to preserving our historical artefacts. We actively look at other options to assist with the storage of civic and cultural heritage collection items. An expansion of the heritage of the Hammond Road Archive Facility would not enable these items to be housed in the building due to the volume and the collection, and in some case, the individual size of artefacts. The majority of objects currently stored in the Morwell Parade Springvale site are artefacts and items owned by the Springvale and District Historical Society. Council has provided in-kind storage of items up until they are able to be accessed by the Historical Society. Council officers are able to provide assistance when the Historical Society is ready to assess their materials and to explore the collection's relocation to a more suitable home.
And the next question from Ms Guest concerns major projects. It became evident at a council workshop that resident expectations of what should be delivered may be unrealistic. Timelines can be misleading, held up. It might be advantageous to all new staff and residents to have an idea of what master plans are being enacted upon. Dandenong, New Art and Keysborough Hub. What are waiting as shovel-ready projects? The long-awaited Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. What is about to be added to the list? Numerous master plans waiting for funding and final detailed plans. Can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam to respond, please?
Thank you for your question. And through you, Mayor, Council has a 10-year asset plan, sets out the framework for the capital investment into assets over the next 10 years. Specific to Noble Park Aquatic Centre, ongoing renewal activities will continue to be carried out based on condition inspections. However, there are no capital upgrades planned for under the current 10-year asset plan. With the upgrade to the Council plan later this year, the asset plan will also be updated and aligned with the long-term financial plan. All strategies, plans and master plans will be reviewed as part of the process and included. This will indicate Council priorities and ability to deliver over the next 10 years. At this time, key projects that are in progress are the Keysborough South Community Hub and Dandenong Wellbeing Centre in a procurement stage.
Thank you. Ms Guest has also asked a fourth question, which exceeds the amount allowed under our local law. It concerned Noble Park Aquatic Centre, so we'll provide a written response to that, or Ms Guest might like to resubmit it for the next meeting, because I think it would still be relevant. Thank you, and that concludes our questions.
Thank you, Ms Weatherall. Item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2, 4.1 Other. 4.1 4.1 draft minutes of Disability Advisory Committee meeting 11th of December 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Long. Seconder? Deputy Mayor Councillor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.1.2, draft minutes of Positive Ageing Advisory Committee meeting 14th of December 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly. Seconder? Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my question to the relevant officer. I understand that the Greater Dandenong Parkwalk Customer Service Centre has been listed as an item that's been discussed, particularly to do with the Perspex screen that's there and people having difficulty being able to converse with the staff. It does say that it was followed up with customer service through to the Manager of Community Care. I just want to find out whether we've done any adaptations to the Perspex screen to make it easier for our residents to be able to correspond with the staff.
Great, thanks for the question, Councillor Dark. I think we'll get Mr Foley to respond and perhaps take it on notice.
I'm vaguely familiar with the matter. My understanding is we haven't made any adjustments as yet, but we're looking at a broader sort of compliance to meet more than just that particular need.
Great, thanks for that. Councillor Dark, anything else? No? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Yeah. Item 4.1.3, appointment of non-executive director, Dandenong Market Proprietary Limited, DMPL.
Mayor, I declare in accordance with section 127 to 129 of the Local Government Act 2020 that the type of interest that has given rise to the conflict is a direct material conflict of interest of a non-pecuniary nature, section 128. I declare that the nature of my interest is described as I am a director of a company that owns a stall at the Dandenong Market.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. We'll just wait for Councillor Mehmeti to leave the chambers. Can I have a mover for the item, please?
Move it.
Councillor Long.
Second.
Councillor Dark. Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Could we call Councillor Mehmeti back in, please? Oh, sorry, one moment. Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wish to congratulate Mr Hermson on his reappointment as a non-executive director of the Dandenong Market. I've had the pleasure, along with Councillor Long, of serving with him on the Dandenong Market Board, and he's somebody who has a significant amount of experience when it comes to business operations, particularly to do with the retail sector and the leases, which are a critical part of the Dandenong Market and the way it operates. He came from QIC, which is the Queensland Investment Corporation, managing funds on behalf of the Queensland Government, and now has a consulting business particularly specialising in the retail sector. And I know his advice that he's provided to the DMPL board and to council has been absolutely paramount. So I just wish to congratulate him on his reappointment.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other comments? Fantastic. Could we ask Councillor Mehmeti back in, please? Great. Item 4.1.4, list of registered correspondence to Mayor and Councillors. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Mehmeti and seconder, Councillor Trong. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Trong.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask, because in this item has a letter of thanks from Swinwell South resident to stop attending to clean the gutter and roof. Does our council provide the service to clean the gutter and roof for the resident?
I'll ask Ms Gillies to respond to that, please.
Sorry, Councillor Trump, could I ask you to repeat the question for me?
The question is, inside say that a letter of thanks from the Swinwell resident to stop attending to clear to clean the gutter and roof. I would like to know, does the council have any service to provide to them to clean the gutter and roof?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Through our aged or community care programs, there are certain or residents within the community that can access some home maintenance services, but it's not a broad reaching, it's not for everyone in the municipality, it's for a very specific age range within our community. So I'll certainly follow that up to look at, is that somebody in our municipality that we could offer those services to? But if not, we would actually refer them on to other potential private providers of the service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Gillies. Does that clarify your question, Councillor Trong?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.1.5, report on matters discussed at council briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Deputy Mayor. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.1.6, South East Melbourne Waste Advanced Waste Processing. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. And a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Trong. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition?
Madam Mayor.
Question, Councillor Mehmedi.
Thank you, Mayor. My understanding is that if we go back into this, I didn't realise that we need to pay $50,000, and my concern that is it's the financial year of 23-24. We're nearly the end of the financial year of 24, so this means we'll have to pay another $50,000 come July 1. Why don't we just wait to July 1 and pay $50,000 if that's what we want to do? But I feel like we shouldn't be paying $50,000 only for the remaining of the balance of the financial year. So can we just get an update on that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms Weatherall.
This is part of our contribution. It's not an annual contribution. This is just to go with our contribution to re-participate in the project. Officers at briefing talked about the fact that we thought that this was a worthwhile expenditure based on the value that it can add to council, and the proposal will still, not the $50,000, but the actual proposal to re-engage with the advanced waste processing process would still come back for council decision. So in the scheme of how much we expend each year on waste, which is considerable, this is not a material cost.
Yes, Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just like to ask if we can ask the relevant officers and the CEO, what other avenues is council looking at, or other proposals, or other ways that we can reduce the waste, or we go past the landfill closures dates? Because this seems to be the only one on the table, and it doesn't seem like there's much choice in the matter. What are we doing as a council to make sure that we explore all avenues to the benefit of our residents, to make sure that, you know, we are financially responsible and also that environmentally responsible? Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll ask Mr. Manivasa Gassam, if you wouldn't mind to respond to that question. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor. Yeah. Sending the waste to landfill is our last option, and we'll work with the community and also through some of the process to first reduce the waste, and also what we can reuse and recycle, and then what's the residual waste is going to the landfill. We'll work on that one. There are a lot of things needs to happen, so that those things we'll look into that in parallel to these options as well. We all acknowledge that, you know, the landfill air volume is reducing, so there are not going to be any new ones. So we'll look at that, reducing any other options before we going into that. So part of that other options, we'll consider all of those other options.
Great. Thanks for that clarification. Any further questions to that, Councillor Milkovich? No?
Sorry, no, thank you.
Okay, great. Is there any opposition? Councillor Garrard in opposition. Can I get the mover, Councillor O'Reilly, to respond, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the detail is in the report, but in summary, this decision is asking Council to pay a $50,000 fee to stay at the table as a Class A participant in a group of councils that are looking to explore the most sustainable, cost-efficient and effective way to deal with this council and other councils' future waste needs. The decision tonight does not commit us to any proposal at all. We can back out at a later date when we have more detail on the proposal and when it is worked out. I think it is prudent of this council to stay part of the group of councils that are looking at a joint facility, joint contract on advanced waste processing there. Otherwise, we could end up on our own surrounded by tons of waste, which means we may have to send that to landfill if we have no other option, and or our residents may have to pay a much higher price than if we do it in a joint agreement with other councils. And as I said, the $50,000 does not commit us to anything apart from staying at the table to see what the proposal will be in time. I think to not participate in this, we could looking forward, this council could potentially have a huge regret when we're charging our residents much more for potentially inferior and less sustainable waste processing. So I commend this decision to the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Trong as the seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what Sean said. I think that we have to wait about in the short times. We know what is going on with the landfill, and we make a decision later. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard in opposition, please.
Thank you. Can I confirm the amount of time I have to respond?
4 minutes.
Thank you. I stand to oppose this item purely on the grounds that there is nothing substantially different about this offering than when we rejected it in 2022. There is nothing substantially changed. It was not a good idea in 2022, and it remains not a good idea. We are being told that we have to spend $50,000 right now just to get a look at what is happening. So without any information, the vagaries of this report are extraordinary. And so we are told that they won't tell us what's in the proposed contract that they are putting out to tender, but we have to pay $50,000, and we're hearing that that's no money at all. Well, I can tell you I have been asking for a playground upgrade in my ward with no swings that would cost $50,000 for 3 years. I can tell you 5 things off the top of my head that I could get in my ward that would advantage my particular residents for the cost of $50,000. So in these fiscally tight times, $50,000 is not unsubstantial. Just to get a look at what was a bad idea 2 years ago and what is substantially the same. 2 years ago, we said we would not sign on for a variety of reasons, none of which have been addressed. One particular, which was the confirmation that the waste supply deed issued for tender was not detrimental to the council's obligation under the circular waste economy strategy. This is an incinerator. This is burning rubbish and putting carcinogenic substances in the air. It is lazy. it is costly, and it is not what we need to meet our obligations under the circular economy. In addition, waste-to-energy plants are a tonne for a tonne of carbon. For every tonne that you burn, you generate a tonne of carbon. Who will take that carbon in their budget? Who will be footing the bill for that carbon in their budget? This was a bad idea 2 years ago, and there is nothing in this report that suggests that it is any way different. We are given vagaries around some changes in terms of who will own the plant, where the waste to energy will be, and very vague details such as that. But the substance of the objections we had 2 years ago have not changed, and for the gift of $50,000, we will get to see they have not changed. We will just get more detail about how this is substantially the same as it was when we rejected it. So under no circumstances will I support this, and I am flawed. I am absolutely flawed that you will pay $50,000, which apparently is nothing at all, to get a look at a contract that was bad. I have 3:21, so I have 30 seconds to continue. That was bad 2 years ago and has substantially not changed. Councillor Malkovich made a very good point. Why are you not looking at something else? Why are you so narrow in your ambition that you have not looked at the alternatives that would be consistent with our responsibilities to the environment and to the health of the community? I am gobsmacked that anyone would support this.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Any other speakers? Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Normally, Councillor Garrard and I do not agree on many things, if any at all. I do, however, acknowledge some of her concerns this evening, and I am concerned as well. $50,000, I understand, it might seem like a big sum of money. In the overall scheme of things of what the council raises as revenue and investment that the council does, I don't see it as an overly large sum of money to make sure that we're on the right track with waste management in the future. However, what my concern is that why no other options have been presented in essence, because I can tell you from as someone who works in the private sector, whatever you create, any industry that's got a complete monopoly, which is what this particular proposal looks like to me, it might be appealing to begin with, but once the monopoly is established, you will have nowhere else to go in the sense where to dump this rubbish, whether that's an incinerator or whether it's a landfill or whether that's exporting it overseas or whatever the case is. And I can see that if the monopoly is created, and my fear is that it might be, that the residents will be left with an astronomically high bill that will just go up and up because it'll be a simple answer, well, you've got nowhere else to take it, so you've got to go with it. That is my primary concern as from the economic standpoint of view. And I think our residents at least deserve that we look at some different options, at least explore some of the options, at least give it a try, because the way we're going at the moment is that these people, whoever this company is that's going to undertake the work, is going to be left, like I said, with all the cards in their hand, and even the $50,000 that we are putting up to show the cards might not be enough in the future. So I am, like I said, impartially concerned that there will be no choice in the future and the costs will just keep going up and up and up regardless of what we do, because there is no alternative. There's no other technology available. I think us as a council should probably join forces with some other councils and look at different options. At least present them. If they're worse off, well, so be it. And if this is the best option, let's look at it. But at the moment, we're being funneled to this one point and there's no way in or out. Once you're in, you're in. And then once you're in, if they cover the whole of Southeast Metro or whatever that is, well, I think our costs are just going to go through the roof. With no competition. I mean, if Councillor Mehmeti was the only director of the only company installed at the Dandenong market, he could charge any prices he wants. He wouldn't, but he could potentially. That's why the competition is good. At the moment, there's just no competition. There's just nothing there for the residents to choose or us to look at viable options. So I'm a little bit concerned, like I said, and for that reason, I don't think that in this current concept, I'll be supporting this motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Milkovich. Is there anyone that is for or against? No. Councillor Duck. Yep.
No.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you,
Mehmeti.
Mayor. When I asked the question earlier on, is it going to cost council nothing to get back in, I was more than happy to participate. Once I saw there that I've read the report, It says there's really nothing new to what the report back 2 years ago was. No other alternatives. I'm happy to stay in the undecided basket for now. I think there's got to be other options out there. I don't think council should invest another $50,000 just for the remaining of 3 months, because the financial year ends on the 30th of June. The other councils have committed $50,000 and they've got that extra support or information since 23 July 1. I'm just not convinced this is the right way to go. The first incinerator that opens in Victoria, we should straight away jump on board. We've done this before with the bus shelter. We signed a 20-year lease. We know that that now is coming to an end. We would love to get out of that contract. Signing these long-term deals, our commitment to bringing more rubbish, it was in the last report we had, was saying that we need to increase our rubbish every year when everybody in the community has been taught to recycle and have less rubbish. So that's another concern I had with this commitment that we had to make 2 years ago. I'm not convinced that this is the only option to go. I'm happy to stay undecided and just keeping our options open and no commitments at this point in time.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmedi. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I echo the sentiment of Councillor Mehmedi, Councillor Milkovich and Councillor Garrard as well, particularly to do with the tender contract the way it is. I asked several questions at the CBS when we had a person who was on the board attend as well, and there's certain things that I still have some issues with that haven't been resolved. The query about where exactly this plant is scheduled to be located is certainly, I think, well and truly clear to everyone that's on the board, and I think that there are a lot of things that questions were asked and were basically embargoed under the sense of confidentiality agreements. And I have an issue with the way that that goes forward, particularly with the monopolies when you have long-term contracts over, say, 20 years. And Councillor Mehmedi touched on it before with the bus shelter contract that is signed between the Council, the Department of Transport and U-Media, which at the time was no doubt looked like a great option. We're getting free bus shelters, but now we are in a situation where our residents cannot have any more bus shelters installed because of a contract that was signed 20 or 15 years ago. And that's a concern I have, because what is this contract going to put us in a situation to for the future years coming? Whilst this allows us access to information, which I think we should have been able to have at least a lot more information provided to us before we make the decision of opting in or opting out, and that hasn't been forthcoming. That basically the conversation from them on the board is pay the $50,000 and we'll give you the information you want. Otherwise, it's going to be withheld and held off against you. And to get that sort of response from people who are seeking a substantial contribution of this council is concerning. The ultimate role of us as councils is the custodians of the ratepayer money, and that needs to be ensured that every dollar that is comes into this organisation is spent efficiently and effectively in the community. And being told that there is 3 tenders coming in, there's 1 tender that's being worked with, this tender's got some information but we can't tell you what it is, but you can still pay $50,000, get access to it, and then you can come back being whether or not council wishes to proceed, because it's not binding until such time as a contract signed, is just obscure. It's absurd. To have a point, we are talking $50,000. Now, I know Councillor Garrard has mentioned on that, but that is something that we should be provided the information first and foremost. We have protections under the Local Government Act for the information of confidential information, and it is afforded to us in legislation as well to ensure that we have the ability to make decisions as councillors. And basically being, for lack of a better word, extorted of having to pay $50K to get access to that, I find completely absurd. The third part, as what's been mentioned as well, particularly when it comes to aligning what is the calculatable waste. We have substantial investment from the state government with the rollout of the green bins, with the new glass allocations that's coming in eventually. There are also the FOGO bins. There's also a lot of these new initiatives which the state government is driving out, and that is to drive down the amount of household general waste that is there to be sent around. And whilst I understand that we, and for the majority of councillors or councils, are heading towards the burn it is the best way possible, I think that there are other options which potentially could be searched first. And I think that this council needs to work out exactly how much waste we are projected to have. Once we have glass separated from paper separated, from FOGO separated, the actual general waste I think every household is going to have is going to be quite low. And that's something I think needs to be resolved before we go down signing a very long-term agreement for waste that we potentially may not have. And then it becomes a question of what do we do then. There's too many things with this item that is currently the way it is, and I cannot support wasting this money in the current state.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Any further comments for or against? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify with the financial implications, so there's 30,000 already allowed for this. So that means we only put in additional 20K. That's it. This is on page 57 out of 62.
Thanks. I'll ask Mr Foley to respond. Thanks, Councillor.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, my understanding is there's an existing $30,000 in the budget, so this would be an increase of 20,000 on the budget.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just say that's still 50,000? It's still 50,000.
Thank you for the maths. Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly, as the mover, could you please write a reply?
Thank you, Mayor. Quite a few points to answer here, Mayor. Firstly, it does cost money to run a process where multiple councils are looking at becoming a consortium to get a tender up and running. It does cost money. It's not free. The other councils in this group have paid money themselves, and yet somehow councillors around in this chamber think that our council just should get a free look at the proposal. So other councils can pay, but we're special and we just deserve a free look. Again, to me that doesn't make sense, but I'll go on. Councillors opposed are presuming that down the track we can investigate other options and still come back to this joint proposal with other councils. Again, that is not what this decision is about. This decision is moving from a Class B participant to a Class A participant.
Councillor O'Reilly, if you could take a seat.
Order,
what's the
Madam
point
Mayor,
of order, Councillor Garrett?
The point of order is irrelevance, that Councillor O'Reilly is referring to information that is not in fact in here, that we can or cannot come back to this contract. That is not in here. And so he is providing information that is not relevant to this item. Is it relevant or not?
No, I do agree that it is relevant. It's to do with the issue of whether or not. It's a point of order, but it's clearly up to the chair to decide whether or not it's a valid one. You could just move on, Councillor O'Reilly.
I think I will, because they're not substantiating it the other way either. But because there's certainly other points to address them, Mayor, that's not the only one. What we're talking, what the contract or the potential contract or the contract that this council could enter into if it sees the detail and thinks that it is the best proposal on the table. We're talking about waste of millions of dollars over decades, and you've got councillors comparing it to a playground upgrade. Like, this is incredible. So a decision that potentially is could save this council millions of dollars and introduce more sustainable practices, and comparing it to playgrounds. So somewhere the dots are not being joined on this, Mayor, with the importance of waste being one of the largest expenses of this council, a separate item that we charge our residents for. Important to note, Mayor, that this is not going to be the only option that this council could consider, and we don't have to accept the proposal. To remain in the consortium just means that we will be able to consider this rather than striking it off as an option. And I can't presume the outcome of the proposal with the group of other councils, but I think there is a possibility that if you join together with 6 or 7 other councils, that it will be cheaper and it will be more sustainable. So why don't we at least spend a fair amount to get a look at it, rather than explain to our residents down the track that we took a stupid decision not to stay part of it, when our residents may potentially have to pay much, much more for their waste processing and also less sustainable practices. So I think, to me, Mayor, this is a no-brainer, but hopefully a majority of councillors will concur. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Riley. So we'll put it to a vote. So can we put show of hands of all those in favour of this motion, please? Councillor Tan, Councillor Trong, Councillor Long, Mayor Formoso, Deputy Mayor Lim, Councillor O'Reilly. Those against: Councillor Mametti, Councillor Dark, Councillor Milkovich and Councillor Garrard. So that's a 6-4. The motion is carried. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, moving on. Thanks for that robust debate, everybody. Item 5, notices of motion. As there are no notices of motion, we are moving on to item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillors. Questions. We'll go to birthday girl, Councillor Garrard, please. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to commend all those that were part of the Sustainability Festival that endured that incredible heat yesterday and thank them for the great work they did. My first question relates to the bus shelter that Councillor Duck referred to before, the extraordinary situation where we are not going to get any new bus shelters for 3 years and beyond. And in my particular ward, we have no bus shelters at all. And our vulnerable people, particularly older people, are being forced to stand in extreme heat, which we know is extremely dangerous for both older and younger and people with existing vulnerabilities. My question is, how will the council protect these bus service users in the 3 to 4 years until we get a bus shelter? And how will we ensure that our residents' the health is protected in that extraordinarily long time?
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. If we could ask Mr Manivasagasan to respond, please.
Through you, Mayor, thank you for your question. Council will continue to advocate the state government as the responsible level of government for public transport in Victoria, to fund new bus stop infrastructure to improve public transport accessibility in accordance with the Victorian Bus Plan. Additionally, we will be advocating for the state government to improve services and supports to reduce the risk of vulnerable public transport users during extreme weather events in accordance with the Victorian climate change strategy.
Thank you. Councillor Garrard?
Yeah, so thank you. That means no for 4 years. Thank you. our residents will not be protected for 4 years. My next question is regarding the odours, the continual odours that plague Keysborough South, which are so extreme that our residents are unable to leave their home, and particularly the last 3 weeks have been so extreme that residents have felt nauseous and felt unwell. The EPA, I believe, has done an analysis of some of the material that they gathered from residents in the area. How has the council provided that information back to the residents in the area that cooperated with the gathering of data for the EPA to analyse?
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. I'll also ask Mr Manivasagasam to respond to that one, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Council officers have been in contact with a number of complainants as well as a few councillors regarding the orders experienced across the city for the past couple of weeks. We are aware that residents have been provided air sampling canisters to the EPA earlier in the year, and these samples have been received and are currently being analysed by the scientists at the EPA. It is anticipated these results of these air samples will be made available to public on the EPA website very soon. Once we receive notification, we'll inform the community via link on our website or through our social channels.
Thank you.
So I understand that you're going to put the information on the website, but the residents engaged with you in good faith over a number of years regarding gathering this data, and I think it is. I think the council should respond directly to them. My next question is what was labelled a national disgrace by the Australian Workers' Union, where refugees and migrants within our community were underpaid by around $1 million, and which was up to $40,000 per worker, and were forced to work over 70 hours a week under harsh conditions. This was at Polytrade, which is a company the council is about to renew their contract with. My question is, how will the new contract, the provisions in the new contract, ensure that the workers are not only paid fairly, but their health and safety, which was severely compromised through this process, can be ensured?
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. We'll ask Mr Foley to respond, please.
Thanks for your question, Councillor Garrard. Just as part of Council's usual procurement process, we use a third party called Rapid Global to undertake a number of compliance checks. That includes OH&S and EMS, environmental management systems, so that will be undertaken as part of the process. The other thing just regarding Polytrade is that I think Council was advised last year that it was actually, that's since been acquired by another company called Regroup about 2022. As part of that process of the acquisition, Council officers went and sought further information from Regroup in terms of how they were actually handling this transition. And the advice that I believe that was provided at the time was that Regroup had reviewed all of their employment policies and moved all of the moved all of their employees onto their payroll system. They'd also advised that they now undertake regular visa checks. They've got a better overall test that they undertake to ensure all staff are now correctly paid. So there's been a fair bit of movement, as I understand it, since those events of 2 years ago.
Thank you.
Mr.
Mayor,
Foley.
was the question
Thanks,
about health and
Councillor
safety answered?
Yes, I think I referred to Rapid Global, who is a third-party assessor that we actually bring in, and they do a compliance check on both OH&S systems, occupational health and safety systems, and environmental management systems.
So you will inquire before you renew that contract recent reports, because I understand there have been recent reports where staff's health and safety has been severely compromised. Will you be assessing those reports before you renew the contract?
I'll have to take that on notice because I'm not aware of any recent reports.
Thanks, Mr Foley. Councillor Garrard.
My last question regarding the co-design process, regarding the Keysborough, the Dandenong hub. My question is around process. Why is the council putting the hub back out to public consultation when the notice of motion that set the co-design process in train said that that would be the concept design would be finalised through a co-design process? So to put it back out to public exhibition is not a co-design process, and it is actually in contravention of the motion, which is a serious issue. And so I am wondering what is your justification and why are you contravening the motion that said the completion of the concept design should be through co-design?
Thanks. If I could ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Garrard. So obviously we're committed to really thorough, and this was actually in the notice of motion that the revised report that subsequently went to Council on the 23rd of October last year. We're absolutely committed to detailed consultation on this project. We're absolutely doing everything we can in terms of the process, and I mentioned earlier that we'll review to see if further co-design sessions are required. However, and I can think of a number of other examples where when we've got to a final stage of a policy development or a strategy, we actually do come back to Council and seek Council endorsement to go and do that final stage of consultation. So in terms of this particular project, once we've got the report back from the architect, we've finalised any of the additional co-design workshops that may be required, we will be coming back to Council and saying, Council, here's the outcomes of that. Here's the revised bill of quantities, for example, that go with that design.
You're not answering a question about public exhibition.
What I'm saying is we would bring that back to Council with a recommendation as to whether we move to that step or not, and it will be Council's decision as to whether we do that. If Council decide that they don't want any further broader community consultation, but certainly there is examples of where any design we would go out for broad confirmation, particularly if there's been significant change from what was perhaps initially shown to the community.
Thank you for that response. Madam Mayor, my substantive question, which is why the process is not following the notice of motion, which stipulated that it would be the concept design would be finalised through a co-design process. I won't ask the officer to answer now, but I would like that in writing because it is actually contravening the motion to put that out to consultation when the motion stated would be finalised through a co-design process. So it is a serious issue to contravene a motion by creating another process that was not stipulated in the motion. So I would ask that I would have a written explanation for why we are contravening the notice of motion. And that's the end of my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. I don't believe that's the case, but Ms Gillies will respond to that in writing. Thank you. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions tonight. I've noticed on my latest visit just today that part of the toilet roof has been knocked down in Tatcham Park in the recent storm. It is fenced off and the council did provide some portable toilets. The disabled and the female toilets are still operational. I would just like to get an update maybe or just a timeline as to when the roof might be reinstated and the facility put back in operation in its former sort of capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll ask Mr Mani Vasagasam to respond to that one, if you could, please.
Mayor, I'm happy to take that notice. I need to check with the teams on the timing of those things.
You don't have any photos of that by any chance, Councillor Milkovich? If you could forward that on, that'd be great. Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, just another quick one. Also, the Tatcham Park issue. In the recent walk, I'm not sure, I know you visit the park quite frequently. A couple of boardwalks, that go between this. There's boards that the nails have given way and the screws have given way and the boards are sort of, if you're sort of able-bodied, it's fine, but if you're on a bike or if you're a little kid or something, they stick out by about half an inch or an inch. So I'm not sure if I can ask the relevant officers to send the inspectors there or send one of our guys there to check it out, just make it safe again because it's easy to trip and some of them they've got a bit of a fall. So
yep, we'll get the maintenance team to look at that.
Thank you.
Yep, that's all. Thank you. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my first question this evening has come from a resident who has sent me a couple of emails I'll forward through the Director regarding the 7-Eleven on Cheltenham Road in Kingsclear in Keysborough. I've previously raised this as an issue in this council before, quite some time ago actually, but there's a stockpile of tyres and overgrown grass at the back between 7-Eleven and where the tyre centre is as well. These tyres have been stockpiling for quite some time, getting very close to residential and houses that back onto it as well. I know that the resident has contacted 7-Eleven, had no response from it. They've contacted council and also had no response from it as well. They are getting very concerned given the hot weather we have been having about the potential for a fire to start amongst the dry grass and the tyres and then potentially causing a hazard. Could we just find out from the relevant officer One, if we're aware of what is going on, and two, if there's been any further updates.
Do you also have any photos or any evidence of that, Councillor Dark?
Mayor, I don't. I did drive by this morning and see it was definitely there, and I do have the resident emails that I have forwarded through to the Director as well.
I think we'll ask Ms Gillies if she could follow that up, please. Yep, she'll do that.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Dark?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is regarding the Colchester Court Reserve, which has been unfortunately closed with the very strong weather we had. I had a couple of calls from people who live on Colchester Court on Sunday who originally had planned to have, unfortunately, a kid's birthday party there. There is, I suppose, a lot of branches on the ground. There are a couple of very large branches quite high that have snapped and are hanging and are visibly dead as well, which I suppose is why the playground has been closed. I just want to get an update on when the playground is projected to reopen and the park cleared up.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Dark. I'll ask Ms Gillies to respond if she could, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you, Councillor Dark. We'll follow that one up for you tomorrow. In the meantime, we are still dealing with a significant backlog of branches and issues in terms of particularly post the storm. So we'll follow that one up directly, but I would encourage, if there is further examples of that, for people to be using Snap Send Solve is the quickest way for us to get through them.
Thanks, Ms Gillies.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is to the relevant officer, and it has to do with the dog parks in the city of Great Dandenong, particularly within the Keysborough area. I'm aware that the new one in Councillor Garrard's ward next to Springers has had some significant issues happening on site as well. But secondary to that as well, I've been made aware that 4 days ago there was an incident at the Wachter Reserve Dog Park as well, and it appears to be there's an issue with the way that the dogs are being fenced in and causing a hazard. Unfortunately, an older resident of mine has a small dog, and the small dog was attacked by two staffies early in the morning. The resident moved in to basically try and save her little dog and was attacked in the same time, suffering bites to her stomach and her hand as well. Her glasses were broken and her husband had to take her to hospital to get a checkup. Obviously, this is concerning that this seems to be happening more and more often, particularly amongst several dog parks that we have in the municipality. One, I was wondering what education there is to run, I suppose, about what potential risks there are at dog parks as well, and two, what we can do, I suppose, to make people aware of the hazards and ensuring that people don't take dangerous dogs down, given that I think once dogs end up in an enclosed space, they get hyperactive by other dogs there, and the risk seems to be becoming significant.
Yeah, thanks. I think at Tehachouan we do that quite well because we have the little dog section and then we've got the larger dog section, so that's not always viable at all of the parks. But if Ms Gillies could respond, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dark, for raising this very important issue. Certainly we have seen there have been a number of attacks recently. I haven't been involved in this area for long, but I've been quite surprised at the number of issues. So certainly the ask around education and more information at the actual site so that people understand the risk, that is absolutely something that we could look at. And I had a conversation just today around looking at our animal management strategy, and this could be something that we could potentially move into that, or we could align with that piece of work as well from an education perspective. So certainly we'll take that on notice.
I might just add to that as well, and I think it's a really good point that you raised, Councillor Dark. I remind all councillors that if residents do not have their dogs under effective control, then it is against our local laws, and clearly this is an example where they're not under effective control. So I think we need to look at some communications and education for the community, as well as we'll look at increasing the number of, inspections in regards to the parks. But I would also encourage residents, if they see dogs that are not under effective control, to let us know, and then we'll start patrolling those parks.
Thanks, Ms Weatherall. Thanks, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my last question, and this could probably be taken on notice, potentially come back to a CBS as well. I think it needs a bit more to with the bus shelter contract. I know Councillor Garrett has touched on the bus shelter contract today, but I am a frequent traveller throughout the city of Great Dandenong for work, and I'm certainly aware that there are some issues to do with bus shelters and the lack of them in some of the wards. I drive through the Keysborough South ward on my way to my office every day, and it's definitely evident that there are issues with the lack of bus shelters there, because you often see people hiding in trees 50-odd metres away on Perry Road, trying to get close to where once the bus starts to come. because of the heat that's there. And I think it might be worthwhile whether there's provision even to vary the contract as well, and what potential options there are to ensure that there are sufficient amount of coverage. It appears to me that Media certainly has got a full media coverage over it. I never see any sign saying rent this advertising bus shelter here. There always seems to be some level of advertising, which in turn tells me that there's profitability in it. So I think that there could be the potential even of varying and of having conversations with Media and the Department of Transport and Planning about ways that we can at least get some sort of additional shelter without either contravening the contract or varying the contract to add more in.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Doug. What we will do is ask Mr Manivasa Gassim if he could respond to that, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor. Definitely, I'm happy to follow that up with the Department of Transport to understand what we can work with them. And also, one thing would help is if you have any specific examples of locations, if you could send that to me, I could work with them to identify what other solution we can come through, and also then we can look at the broader bus shelter contracts as well.
Thanks so much.
So, Mayor, just a clarification on that to the Director. So the Department of Transport and Planning, I just think there's a three-way contract executed by them as well. But with regards to the contract, does the Department of Transport and Planning have oversight over what is signed in terms of the contracts, or is the City of Greater Dandenong the lead proponent in terms of the allocation of where they're being placed as well, and Media is the final approver? Because the one thing I found that with this is that we have significant issues having correspondence with the Department of Transport and Planning. If I can't get them to mow some grass, I would find them being able to execute a substantial contract with bus shelters probably even harder than that. And I would like to see what the City of Greater Dandenong's power is in relation to this contract.
Thanks, Councillor Dark. Mr Manivasa Gassim, if you could respond or take that on notice.
Thank you. I need to have a look at that contract details, what extent is, but in general, what normally happens is the Department of Transport would have more oversight into this contract, and Council it's more coming on to the providing some support and all of that, but I'm happy to have a look at the contract and provide you further updates. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to the relevant Director, I just want to get some understanding, because I did request a copy of this contract and I was told it was commercial in confidence, and the Director who told me it was commercial in confidence is now saying that they haven't looked at the contract themselves. I just want to find out, in terms of that, have we sought legal advice to do with the contract in place, and what is the feedback from that as well, particularly given the substantial impact that this is having?
Yeah. Look, we'll take that on notice and respond back to all councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Was that it from you? Yep, thanks. Councillor O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On February the 13th, I was working from home when the storm hit, and it was, to me, it was remarkable the volume of water that was coming from the sky. It was probably the first time I can admit that I was actually scared, in that I thought, if this does not stop soon, the ramifications will be more than calamitous, which, as we know, Mayor, they were calamitous. So that got me thinking, and this brings me to, and I heard that to get an idea of the scale of it, heard on the radio that we received in that sort of southeast area, we received around about 10 millimetres of rain in 30 minutes. So this brings me to my question without notice tonight to the Executive Director, City Futures. Does the Council have access to models or simulations evaluating how potential future extreme weather events could affect our local infrastructure, such as drains, specifically identifying any vulnerabilities in our infrastructure? Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Councillor O'Reilly will get
you, Mayor,
to respond.
Our new Director City Futures may not be aware of this, but Melbourne Water and Council are just about to commence upgrading all our flood plans. And once we have that information, that would provide the kind of information you're talking about. So I'm very pleased to advise that that's currently, if it hasn't already commenced, just about to commence, and we'll provide that information in the next 6 months or so.
Thank you, Ms Weatherall. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the CEO for that information. I'll be very interested in that when it comes around, and specifically, how bad can we tolerate as far as, so if there's any metrics around that, that would be good to know, and which parts of the municipality are less tolerant to flooding, etc., etc. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor O'Reilly. We'll get that data for you. And it was catastrophic event that took place through Greater Dandenong and in particular City of Monash. So a huge thanks to all of our staff and as well SES and CFA that did incredible work over that clean-up period, me included. So thanks for that. Deputy Mayor Richard Lim.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I would like to thank you, our CEO and also council officer during the storm on that day. There's a lot of branches, a lot of trees, or some tree is uprooted as well. I emailed to the CEO and to the council officer just the response so promptly, especially from our CEO, and they did clear the branches of the tree very quickly because in front of Golden Plaza, the branch of tree blocked almost 2/3 of the road. Thank you for that, and so many other issues that like Springwell North about the squatting, those sort of things. The CEO responded so promptly as well, said she's going to take action very promptly as well. Thank you so much for that. And on the 15th, Thursday, I attended flag raising ceremony of National Day of Republic of Serbia. It's a great one with all the ambassadors and so on. And after that, in the afternoon, I had a chance to meet with Mrs. Ephraim Fittok from Sister Work regarding to new warehouse. Actually, they rent a new warehouse in Springwell, probably part of Plymouth North actually. She's really exciting. She needs my help to set up and also to looking for more employees, especially our residents, to work for that warehouse because we got a good contract actually with even Yara Tram and also with L'Oreal company. That's very exciting for our residents and our city as well. And on Friday, the 16th, I had a meeting with High Commissioner from India to Australia. Just had a good discussion, mentioned a bit about probably have this small Indian town in Springwell as well, hopefully, in the future. And also, at night time, I attend probably Lunar New Year again, organized by the Commonwealth Bank of Victoria. Saturday, I had a bit of chance to come to our Dandenong Library, very exciting one. The children very lovely, exciting, laughing, joking, that sort of thing. And the Big Summer reading is excellent. Honestly, that's the second time that I attended at Springwell Community Hub once, and this one is just an excellent one. So many children turn up, the parents and so on. We have number one prizes. We have so many prizes. At the end, we have raffle prizes as well. We have magician, whatever. That's what a great one that we should do more often to every hub or every library or house. Yeah. And also attended Chinese New Year as well, organized by what we call Consulate General of Republic of China in Melbourne. And the great part of it is Melbourne Symphony Orchestra at the Hammer Music Hall with many Member of Parliament, with many VIP, that sort of thing. On the Sunday, the next following day, the Sunday, I attended Lunar New Year at City of Monash, invited by Mayor of City of Greater Dandenong, with our Premier, with opposition leaders, with so many MP as well. And also around lunchtime, I had to rush to have a meeting with one of the big organizations, charity organization, actually Mrs. Jackson. She wanted to connect with my charity, want to work together because she has a lot of projects in Cambodia, in Nepal, and so on. And she really interested in my Cambodia vision, my so many other charity I look after at the moment, like people have no food in Cambodia or something. And in the evening, I have another chance I'll meet another family that really interested to be part of Monash Children charity dinner or any flower ceremony or heart hospital and kids safe and so on and so on. On the next day, Monday the 19th, I'm meeting with 2 people regarding to formation of multicultural. I sent an email, probably misspelling that in a hurry. Multicultural support group in our city. Just like I mentioned last time, we want to set up a very multicultural type of support group to support every community in our city. Doesn't matter who, 158 nationality here. On Tuesday, the next day, I'm meeting with Thai Labour Minister, with Wine Minister, with Ambassador, Consulate General, and many delegates, especially business owner, the Australian business owner that do export a lot from Thailand. They're very exciting to want our city to have something to do with city with the government of Thailand, actually. And on Wednesday, the 21st, I had a chance to meet again. This is from time to time. I have to go to Monash University Faculty of Pharmacy that I have been involved for the last 12 years in 2012 regarding oxytocin, and also we call quality care of or quality of medicine initiative. That's a very big program that we're looking for the whole world. We try to do a big project to look after all the poor countries around the world without profit, because the end of the product may be 30 cents to 50 cents only, but we're looking at the moment to the big multinational company to support us. That's a great initiative, because the reason I give you a bit idea, the whole world every day or every year, the lady that give birth, at least more than 70,000 die because of give birth or because of a hemorrhage or whatever. There's a technical word a bit hard to explain. And also we meet Professor Michelle McIntosh and I would say Amber and so on and so on. And not just that, we already tried to do any other project by raising more funds for our project for Monash Health as well. On Saturday, the 24th, actually on Wednesday, I had a chance with the mayor and also with Julian Hill, attended what we call Sinzip ceremony actually. And Saturday, strategic workshop as usual. We had a lot of discussion, very productive. On Sunday, the next day, I have a chance to attend Sustainability Festival at Dandenong Park after I go to the Albanian Mosque with Gabriel William and also with Lee Talamas. And also after that, came back to the Springvale, Albanian actually festival in at Dandenong Park. Yep, and also and that's about all I think. Thank you for that. Oh, one more question I want to ask you. I've been asked a lot of questions already at CBS and also with Kevin Van Boxtel and also Mrs. Goji regarding to revitalization of Springvale. But I just would like to ask any relevant officer can help me, because we want to continue with shape of Springvale. I know we closed the QR code already, but can we continue on? Because Kevin, he said, promised me to carry on until the end of February. But if the Kevin Van Boxtel haven't presented to our council by the end of this month, can we continue on with link greater.dandenong.wic.gov.au/shape Springvale? If we can do that, would be great, because a lot of business owner and community leader really still interested in that, because some people didn't aware of, but now they start to ask me again and again after I explain to them about our revitalization of Springvale. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Councillor Long, please.
Thank you. These are some of the events I have attended since my last formal meeting. 23rd of January, I attended the Dandenong Hub meeting at the Dandenong Civic Centre. 26th of January, Australia Day. I attended the citizenship ceremony at the Drum Theatre, and later at the Drum Theatre I attended the Australia Day Awards. Community Leadership Award, Glenys Duck. Young Leader of the Year, Angeline Karvatkov. Volunteer of the Year, Michael Pryor. Corporate Citizen of the Year, Vanessa Fields. Sportsperson of the Year, Connie Fasogis. Community Group of the Year, Garage 35 Art Studio. Sustainability Award, former councillor Matthew Kerwin. Living Treasures Award, Helen Heath and John Mooney. Outstanding contribution to the arts, Noel Park Community Centre Art Show. Congratulations to all these recipients of these awards. That afternoon I attended the flags raising ceremony at Noble Park RSL. 30th of January I attended the DMPL Audit and Risk Committee meeting, followed by their board meeting. 4th of January I attended the Lunar Festival celebration at Springvale, the Year of the Dragon. The 7th of January I attended an online meeting with Road Safe South East. 19th of February I attended the disability meeting in the Dandenong Civic Centre. 25th of February I manned the Roadside South East caravan at the Berwick Show, handing out information on road safety. That afternoon I attended the Afghan sport called Sangre, which is a rock throwing sport, and the aim is to hit the target at the other end of the pitch. I was presented with a glass plaque at this tournament, and that's it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mehmeti, please.
Thank you, Mayor. It was great to visit the Dandenong Market yesterday, where Council held its annual Sustainability Festival. I think it was the 11th one we've had in the city. Our new thing that we want people in our community, it's something that's, I see a lot of bins, especially in the CBD areas, when there's rubbish stacked up and overloading the rubbish bins, and you tend to see people just then chucking the rubbish on the floor next to the rubbish bin that's already full. So what we're trying to get our community to do is, when they've got rubbish, absolutely bin it. But when the rubbish bin is full, make sure that they actually take it with them and dispose of it, either at home or in another rubbish bin. Just sick and tired of people dumping rubbish when the rubbish bin is already full. So that's what we're trying to promote, and hopefully, I think there's a video coming out of all councillors in that video, letting the community know that the thing is, just don't dump it on the ground, because what normally will happen is the wind will blow it, and it'll just go into our waterways, etc. So that's just something that is pretty easy to understand, and it was something very basic that our staff were there in numbers yesterday, and there was free plants and other things that were given out, and I think it's something that we do really well, and I always look forward to attending the Sustainability Festival every year. Also in Victoria yesterday there was an open day mosque. I visited a couple of mosques. Councillor Richard Lim joined me with Gabrielle Williams and Lee Talamas at the Albanian Mosque in Dandenong, where it was open to everybody in the community, and there was all different people from different culturally diverse people attending, and there was talks and explained, there was questions and answers, and if you haven't been to one, I strongly urge you next year. It's an annual thing that the state government run, and you can attend any mosque in your local area. Also, we had the Albanian Festival at Dandenong Park. Dandenong Park, what can I say? I'm in love with Dandenong Park. It looks beautiful every time I walk past. I love the flowers, and to see many, many, many hundreds of people, probably thousands of people there on yesterday was beautiful, and I encourage residents to use Dandenong Park and all our parks, and I do see that. I see it very often. There's hundreds of people every afternoon using our parks, and I think this council does something really well. We do look after our parks, and we just ask our community to look after the park, especially when it comes to rubbish. I've just got a little complaint. This is happening now a few times. Residents are contacting me. They've got an infringement notice. Normally I used to recommend they go to the council office, get a form, and then they'll write in the form why they shouldn't get an infringement notice. And normally somebody might help them. I'm not sure how they help them. But now they can't get a form. They've got to do it online. That to about 60% of our community is nearly impossible. You know, my mum and dad would have no idea how to get onto a computer and go to find it on the council webpage to fill in an infringement notice form. This is just not working. I keep on sending people to the council. Unfortunately, Jo Thorne's been taking a few on, but I can't keep on sending them to her. Is there something that council can do at the customer service desk? Is there an opportunity? I mean, you know, is there spare staff to help people? Or do we have a time frame that if people go to the council community service desk saying, I need some help, can we tell them to come back or make an appointment, or is there some sort of strategy that we can actually help our constituents to be able to fill that form in? And there might be other forms that I'm not aware of that are now online. I think we need to look at this. Being a very culturally diverse municipality, this is definitely disadvantaging our community. So can we please have a look at that and what other options there are?
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. I'll take that on notice. It's the first I've heard that there's been a change in approach, so I'll have a look at that and I'll come back and talk to councillors about it. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you very much, Ms Weatherall. There's a new dog off-leash park in Keneally Street in Dandenong, which I'm looking forward to it. I'm just wondering, is there an update on when that's going to start?
I'm happy to take that notice and then check with the project team. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Mehmeti. Councillor Trong.
Thanks, Mayor. You know, because I think last storm, that big storm, make many tree and branch still falling down around our city. It's not been cleaned yet, and I think that council should, try the best to clean it as soon as possible. However, at the Sunday 3rd of March will be the cleanup of Challenge Day, and I will organize the group of people like many years, about 80 to 100 people to work, and we try to clean as many as we can, and also we ask the council come to collect the rubbish after we made it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Trong. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, so I had a great productive week over the weekend. So we attended the strategic weekend with our CEO and executive staff. So thank you for coming along and for your great work. My question for tonight, just a follow-up question. So just again regarding to a couple of weeks ago, that's caused by the storms. As you know, there's a lot of branches falling down on Nature Street. So just following up, there's a lot, especially on Corrigan Road toward Chattenham. So just through you, Mayor, to the relevant officer, could you please request anyone to clean this up as soon as possible? It's been there for 2 weeks now. I'll send through the exact address on the email, but it's a lot on Corrigan up to Chattenham Road. Thanks.
Yeah, there's been a backlog throughout the entire municipality, but if you've got exact dates, locations, then please send them through.
Yeah, can I just add, Madam Mayor, all local governments, but in particular because the South East was so hard hit, are struggling to deal with this storm event. And I think it's a really interesting dilemma for us on climate change and what is happening in terms of the environment, how long this is taking us to clean up. And we will review our resourcing for such events, but I think it's going to come at an additional cost for council, and we may even have to add some additional funds in our budget moving forward for such events. But we'll consider that and talk to you as part of the budget process. Thank you.
Thank you. Second question, it's part of Yarraman ward, but it's kind of like border to my ward. So just want to find out through you, Mayor, through the relevant officer, what's the update on the Railway Parade, Noble Park Streetscape? Oh, great. Thanks. The shopping centre along Yarraman Station.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Tam, we'll ask Mr Manivasagasim if he has an update on that, please.
No. Thank you for that question. So I don't have any specific answer for that one. So we deliver more than 400 or 500 projects a year. So if you want answers, if you could let me know earlier so I could find answers. So yeah, I'll take that notice and provide any update on that.
Thank you. Also, just want to inform everyone that there's a Noah Park Community Fun Day it's coming up this Saturday on the 2nd of March. So the formerly known as the Noah Park Big Day Out, so it's funded by the Victorian Government, especially through the Noah Park Revitalisation Projects. So I just want to inform everyone to attend. It's at the Noah Park Skate Park on the 2nd of this Saturday, 2nd of March, and we do have a Clean Up Australia Day on the 3rd. So please actually come out and help everyone, do a little bit of help clean up on your street. So I'll be doing in my ward as well, in Noah Park. So normally I do at the Noah Park Activity Centre. Usually like 10 or 12 people cleaning up around that area. So hopefully to see everyone help clean up your neighbourhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tan. Yes, and on that, I'll make a couple of notes, but I will table the rest of the events that I've attended the past couple of weeks. But I did want to definitely mention Clean Up Australia Day on Sunday, the 3rd of March. I'm in a little bit of a dilemma. I set out to clean all 26 parks and reserves in my ward every single year with my family and with as many volunteers as possible. Many hands make light work, so I would really encourage anyone in my ward or in the municipality that would like to assist me and my family, take that challenge on. That would be greatly appreciated. And for your efforts, I will be hosting a sausage sizzle barbecue at Barry Powell Reserve at the end of the day. Although I am in a dilemma because that's the same day as the Monash Children's Hospital Walk, which will be held at Gels Park in Willis Hill as it does annually. So I will be caught between two places and having a very, very long day. So I will attend the walk with my family and I will try and get some workers to get started on some of the parks. I do have that up on the council website as well as the Clean Up Australia Day website. So anybody that's willing to join in, that would be greatly appreciated, and anyone wanting to attend the walk, that is also greatly appreciated because the Monash Children's Hospital obviously does so much work for all of the children here in the southeast that use their facilities. I also wanted to mention that on the 15th of February, I had the great pleasure of being the first Serbian heritage mayor in the city of Greater Dandenong and the first time for the Serbian flag to be raised here in Harmony Square on Serbian Statehood Day. So that was a great honour for me to be able to facilitate that. We had Rade Stefanovic, the ambassador to the Commonwealth of Australia, who attended the event as well. So that was a great honour. And Deputy Mayor Richard Lynn joined me, as did Councillor Bob Milkovich, so it was a lovely, lovely event. And another issue that I did want to raise with our community, which is also a really tough one because we've been seeing way too many of these incidences in our municipality, but on Friday the 16th of February, a young 12-year-old boy from my ward, lives in my ward, was coming home from school and was tragically killed on Police Road. 1,266 road fatalities in 2023, 54 fatalities already in 2024. I don't know how much I can stress the importance of road safety and drivers slowing down and paying attention, particularly around school zones, school times. I won't name the family due to privacy, but did want to reach out to them and send my sincerest condolences, and just horrific to have heard that another tragic road fatality has occurred in our municipality. And if the family does need any assistance or any services, to please reach out to me, myself, or the council. Again, something that I'm deeply passionate about, and I have forwarded this email to our team to see what we can do further in regards to road safety here in the city of Greater Dandenong. Stud Road obviously being one of those projects, but Police Road, Jackson's Road are definite issues that we have within our municipality, and I'm just deeply, deeply saddened for that family and the loss of this young boy. In conclusion, I will move on to, so I will table the rest of the events that I attended. Item 7, urgent business, as there is no urgent business. It is item 8, close of business at 8:54 p.m. Good night, stay safe, please drive safely, and thank you. Good night.